Update: WRITETHRU, Deadpool 2 strutted his stuff into 81 markets this weekend, grossing $176.3 million at the international box office. That sets a new benchmark for Fox International as its biggest opening of all time, topping the previous record holder, X-Men: Days of Future Past. The offshore opening is also the biggest ever for an R-rated title, clawing away last year's Logan. In all launch markets this session, Ryan Reynolds' Merc with a Mouth scored the No. 1 spot and bested Deadpool 1's start by 7% in like-for-like plays and at today's exchange rates. The global debut cumulated is $301.3 million. Related, Deadpool 2, swinging in as second-best opening for R-rated pick with $125 million helmed by David Leitch. DP2 further scored Fox's best launch ever in 10 markets including Mexico, India, Indonesia, Thailand and Vietnam. The $176.3 million bow is within the range we were hearing ahead of the weekend. While the film had strong debuts in Europe, it still had to face such distractions as the royal wedding, the FA Cup soccer final and fine weather. Reynolds was tireless in his overseas promotional efforts and the travel paid dividends in such places as Italy where DP2 is the top X-Men opening ever and 25% bigger than the previous film. More detail below. Japan is still to open in June, though DP2 doesn't have that much runway ahead with Disney revving up the Millennium Falcon for next weekend's Solo, a Star Wars story in Universal's Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom stomping in after that. How the very well-received DP2 plays out internationally will become clearer in the coming frame. Disney, one key market where Deadpool did not open this session, and where it would appear unlikely to be granted a release, is China. Avengers: Infinity War continued to dominate the Middle Kingdom, and crossed $300 million there in the process. That makes AIW the No. 4 Hollywood release of all time in the proc. The full offshore weekend was worth $84.4 million in 55 markets for a $1,218.7 million cum. That zooms AIW past Furious 7 to become the No. 3 title ever at the overseas box office. Globally, the cum on Anthony and Joe Russo's Disney Marvel juggernaut is $1,813.7 million to make it the No. 4 film ever worldwide and the highest-grossing MCU superhero release of all time. The global IMAX portion is $134 million, behind only Avatar and Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Paramount Pictures. But Infinity War wasn't the only action in China this weekend. Paramount Platinum Dune's A Quiet Place scared up a fantastic $17.7 million opening there and has now crossed $120 million overseas as it heads to $300 million globally this week. Breakdowns on the films above and more have been updated below. NEWDEADPOOL2 Rex, Shuttershock. Ryan Reynolds' second time out as the irreverent, red-suited Merc with a Mouth opened in 81 offshore markets this weekend to log a $176.3 million debut. The start is a record for Fox International, beating X-Men: Days of Future Past, which bowed to $174 million, including $38.3 million from China. The Middle Kingdom was not in Deadpool's opening suite and is not expected to figure down the line. The first one never made it past the powers that be given the nature of the R-rated pick. Speaking of the rating, Deadpool 2 is now the highest-grossing R-rated debut internationally, overtaking last year's Logan, also a Fox Marvel title, which bowed to $160 million and included $49.7 million from China. The sequel topped the first movie by 7% in like-for-like markets and at today's exchange rates, which is notable given the difference in holiday playtime. Deadpool the First was released in the Valentine's corridor in February 2016 and caught the end of the Chinese New Year holidays in Hong Kong, Taiwan, Malaysia and other Southeast Asian markets. There was clear anticipation for the sequel, with the property now better known around the world and markets where Reynolds and Josh Brolin traveled saw benefits, although the UK was impacted by the royal wedding, championship soccer and great weather. The score was nevertheless the second-best R-rated opening of all time with $18 million on 1,796 screens. The film was No. 1 in each of its launch markets and scored Fox's biggest opening weekend ever in 10 international hubs, including Mexico, India, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, Argentina and Chile. There's not a ton of runway ahead, however, with Solo, a Star Wars story in Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom hot on the Merc's heels. Looking at the rest of the top 5 below the UK, Korea grossed $17 million on 1,562, also with the second best 18-rated opening ever. Reynolds had appeared on the King of Masked Singer reality competition show there, wearing a unicorn mask and singing the anthem for Manny. Russia grossed $11.8 million with 75% of the market share, followed by Australia with $11.7 million on 279 for 3% bigger than DP1. Rounding things out, Mexico nabbed $10.1 million on 3,013 for Fox's biggest opening ever and at 32% above DP1. Reynolds also visited the market. In the previous film, the UK, Australia, France, Russia and Germany were the top overall markets. In IMAX, DP2 grossed $19.2 million on 731 screens globally, the third best for Fox in the format. The international portion was $7.7 million. Holdovers, EXPANSIONSAVENGERS, Infinity War Disney. Although it was dethroned from its No. 1 perch by the arrival of Deadpool 2 this weekend, Infinity War added a tidy $84.4 million to its international box office gauntlet. Much of that came from China, where the tally through 10 days is $302.5 million after a $53.7 million frame, minus 73% from last weekend. It is now the No. 4 all-time Hollywood release in the Middle Kingdom. In China IMAX, it has accumulated $33.2 million to snag the No. 3 best perf ever for the format in the market. The film is now in 4th place on the all-time global box office chart with $1,813.7 million and is the No. 3 movie ever overseas with $1,218.7 million to date. That zips it past Furious 7. It is also the highest-grossing MCU superhero title ever. Infinity War getting to $2 billion worldwide. With a little over $186 million separating it from the mark, it is an iffy proposition. Deadpool took a bite at it this weekend. In the next few weeks we'll see both Solo, A Star Wars Story and Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom take screens and summer popcorn action. Getting all the way up there looks like a stretch, but it should land in the mid-high $1.9 billion range, and really, at these lofty heights, that's nothing to throw stones at. Across several offshore markets, it is the biggest release in history. Those include Brazil, Central America, Bolivia, Chile, Ecuador, Peru, Venezuela, Latin America as a region, the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, India, Western, Thailand, Western, and Vietnam. Outside of China this session, AIW dropped by 65% across the Asia-Pacific region. Especially strong holds were seen in Japan, minus 36%, Australia, minus 57%, and New Zealand, minus 57%. Regionally, the cum is $690 million to make AIW the biggest ever Walt Disney Studios release. In Latin America, the drop was 53% and the regional cum has crossed $200 million. Venezuela actually jumped 21% this session. Europe saw a 65% regional drop for a $325 million cum. Strong fourth weekend holds were seen in Finland, minus 46%, Austria, minus 47%, Poland, minus 47%, Spain, minus 49%, and Czech Republic, minus 49%. The top 5 markets are now: China, $302.5 million, Korea, $89 million, the UK, $87.8 million, Brazil, $60.8 million, and Mexico, $57.7 million. All markets are released as Dis gears up for Solo, A Star Wars Story next weekend. A Quiet Place. Paramount Pictures. Paramount Platinum Dunes winner is creeping up on the $300 million worldwide milestone with $296.5 million through Sunday. Internationally, the John Krasinski-helmed thriller picked up $18.8 million this weekend in 51 markets, led by a great $17.7 million start at 8,731 cinemas in China. In April, the film had secured a Middle Kingdom release in a rarity for a horror pick. The movie slotted in at No. 3 there this weekend, topped by local pick How Long Will I Love You and Avengers: Infinity War. Given the scarcity of similar titles releasing in the proc, comps are tough, although Happy Death Day recently opened there and this debut is 569% above that. The offshore cum is now $120.3 million. In holds, the UK added $169,000 during its 7th weekend for a $16.3 million local cum. Australia now has $9.3 million after 7 frames, and Germany's 6th session brought the total to $3.7 million. This is all ahead of major openings in France, June 20th, and Japan, September 28th. Rampage WB Dwayne Johnson's sci-fi epic generated an additional $4.4 million for New Line, Warner Brothers this weekend in 61 international markets on approximately 3,945 screens. The overseas cume is now $314.5 million, and the global tally is $407 million. This weekend saw Japan open to $1.6 million on 684 screens in third place. Leading into a national bank holiday on Monday, Germany's sophomore outing added $780,000 for a $2.6 million running cume. The top 5 markets are China, $156 million, Mexico, $12.8 million, the UK, $12.4 million, Korea, $11.2 million, and Malaysia, $7.9 million. Peter Rabbit Sony Animation hopping into its final markets. Sony's Cottontail put another $4.1 million in the basket. The Japan debut saw the animated pick grab No. 1 with $2.1 million. Korea launched to $820,000. The international cume is now $220.6 million in 50 markets. Director Will Gluck visited and attended the red carpet premiere in Japan with popular Japanese actor Yuji Ichiba, who is the local voice for Peter and sings "I Promise You" in the dubbed version. A digital campaign in Japan asked folks to send in cute rabbit photos, with over 6,000 received. About 300 are included at the end of the local credits. In Korea, influencer screenings were held with Hyopop, who is popular on YouTube with the elementary school crowd, as well as children and teen reporters in honor of Children's Day on May 7th. From early April to mid-May there was also a costume tour with Peter Rabbit costumes dispatched to major family and children-targeted festivals. Viral video was further created entitled "Welcome Peter, First Time in Korea," a parody of a popular reality TV show to highlight Peter's tour in Seoul. The UK still leads all play with a $56.3 million cume, followed by China, $26.5 million, Australia, $20.2 million, France, $12.3 million, and Germany, $12.1 million. Misc updated cumes. Notable Truth or Dare, Uni, $3.4 million international weekend, 54 markets, $36.6 million international cume. Sherlock Gnomes, Par, $2 million international weekend, 23 markets, $31.7 million international cume. Life of the Party, WB, $1.3 million international weekend, 9 markets, $5.8 million international cume. Campeones, Uni, $800,000 international weekend, Spain only, $17.6 million, Spain. Cumuloro 2, Uni, $600,000 international weekend, Italy only, $2.4 million. Italy cume blockers, Uni, $600,000 international weekend, 30 markets, $27.9 million international cume. May Feel Pretty, STX, $572,000 international weekend, UK only, $5.3 million UK cume. Breaking In, Unit, $300,000 international weekend, 6 markets, $1.7 million international cume. Laura 1, Uni, $200,000 international weekend, Italy only, $4.8 million Italy cume. Italy, Uni, $100,000 international weekend, UK only, $700,000 UK cume.